Hi there, welcome back. So, have you ever wondered why you yawn when you hear or see someone else yawn? It's actually a universal phenomenon, and neuroscientists call it unconscious mimicry. We do it all the time. Mimicry starts from the day that we're born. Babies cry in response to hearing other babies crying. And as they develop, they begin to mimic more and more emotional expressions and body language and hand gestures. Even as adults, we mimic the actions of those around us without even realizing it. Scientists have discovered that it's a manifestation of our need to connect with others and belong to a tribe. We do it all the time. In fact, the only time we don't mimic others is when we don't want to belong to them or affiliate with them. The science behind mimicry was discovered by accident by researchers in Parma, Italy. And there were a team of researchers in a lab, and they were measuring the neural activity of monkeys, specifically the activity in the premotor cortex, and that's the part of the brain related to actions involving the hands and the mouth. And every time the monkey moved its hands or mouth, the machine recorded the brain activity. On one hot day, a graduate student returned from lunch with an ice cream cone. And the monkey watched the student eat the ice cream cone, and every time he took a bite, the machine registered neural activity in the monkey, except the monkey wasn't moving his hands or his mouth. They had discovered that the same brain cells that fired when the monkey took an action were also firing when the monkey observed someone else taking that action. So just observing someone doing something led the monkey's brain to simulate doing the very same action. That same thing proved to be true for hearing sounds. When the monkey cracked open a peanut and heard the sound of the peanut, the same neural activity happened as when he heard someone else crack open a peanut. Those scientists had discovered what we now know as behavioral mimicry and mirror neurons. And the fact that the brain is hardwired to mimic what we see and hear is fascinating all by itself. But what's even more fascinating is what happens among people who engage in behavioral mimicry. Recent studies show that conscious and unconscious mimicry can increase positive social interactions that we have with other people. In a 2010 study, researchers found that both the person doing the mimicking and the mimicker experienced a greater social bond and affinity toward the other person. Here's a simple example. Imagine that you go into a local restaurant and the server comes by your table to take your order. You say, "I'll have the steak salad, no dressing, and a glass of red wine." He could say, "You got it," or "Have that right out for you." But if he says, "Okay, that's a steak salad, no dressing, and a glass of red wine," what he has just done is created a social bond that you don't even realize. This type of mimicry makes you feel better about him, makes you feel like you're connected somehow, and it increases his tip by 70%. When someone behaves the same way you do, it generates rapport and interconnectedness. So when your colleague leans back in his chair and you follow suit, not blatantly, but discreetly, it translates, "We're in this together," rather than "It's me against you." Mimicry can also give us an edge in business and negotiations. In negotiations, the zone of agreement is that range where both sides would rather strike a deal than walk away. And good negotiators focus on the facts that make their position appealing and hide the information that makes their position look vulnerable. And they know just how much information to share, because sharing the vulnerabilities actually weakens their position. It seems really silly that mimicking body language or gestures could change the outcome of that deal, but it's true. People who mimic their negotiation partners were 5 times as likely to find a successful outcome. There are other examples of this in retail that show an increase in sales when the salesperson subtly mimics the behavior of the customer. We're social creatures, and the sense of belonging is a fundamental human need. Mimicry is one way that the brain tries to connect with others, build trust, and increase empathy. We do it all the time, whether we realize it or not. But I'm betting that now you're going to realize it a little bit more. Want to learn more about how the brain works and how to make it work better for you? Check out my book, Happier with Einstein. And remember, life is always better when you share the good stuff.